You're listening to the Heroes Powerhour presented by BlizzPro.com. Your hosts, Balrog fan Zexorus and DJ Tyrant. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Heroes Powerhour. This is episode number 78. I believe it's 78. Yeah, 78. And we are here to talk about Heroes of the Storm. We are the Heroes of the Storm podcast on BlizzPro.com. I'm your host, as always, DJ Tyrant, and with me is our wonderful, great crew. And we're going to be doing something a little bit different this week. We're going to combine the greetings and weekend gaming stuff. We figured, why split those two up? They're both kind of the same thing. So anyways, to my immediate right, we have Balrog fan BP. How are you doing? How was your week in games?
Doing pretty good. I did quite a bit of placement matches, although I'm not quite there yet. Just been sort of lazy about Hero League. It's not my favorite way to play the game, but I do want to at least finish my placements. I played a Brawl match today, which was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to playing more of that mode. And played a couple matches with Zexorus over there, and basically it was quick match shenanigans, so we had some fun. Wasn't really a high-level play. No one would mistake it for that, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And Zexorus, since we're just talking about you, how is your week in gaming?
Busy. Very busy. Charlie made me lose.
Wow.
I was channeling my inner DJ Tyrant and playing Jaina very badly.
Oh, no.
Wow. Yeah.
At least you weren't playing Tyrael.
I'd gone unbeaten on Tyrael for the most part, and Charlie joins up, and then I lose. And I'm like, what?
No.
What?
You mean Tychus?
Tychus, yeah. But, yeah, we played that Brawl game. That was fun. Everything else has just been grinding out quick match, learning Tychus. I finally got Abathur to 10, which I don't know why that ever happened. And Charlie's camera just died for some mysterious reason. But for the most part, it's just been hitting the grind. Got enough gold saved up to just buy Alarak and have enough left over for the next hero after Samuro. So we'll see what they decide to release next, which I guess will be announced at BlizzPro, hopefully.
BlizzCon.
Yeah, it'll most likely be announced at BlizzCon. We have, since BlizzCon will be November 4th, that is, math is hard, but basically we're for 3 weeks from now is post BlizzCon, which is the traditional time that they've kind of had for heroes coming out. So we'll be hanging out and listening for that info. Artifice, how was your week in heroes and gaming?
Hello. It's been all right. I haven't really done anything serious at all. It's been brawls in all the games that I'm playing, and that's pretty much it. To see what forms I can get out of them and which way I can get them to go and how ridiculous they can get.
Yeah, most definitely. Carl, how about you? I know you've been busy, but have you had time to play some games?
I think my master history is all red right now. It's got to be partially my fault. I've been getting frustrated at teammates, but your whole match history doesn't go red if you aren't doing something wrong. But that's about how my week has been.
Oh my goodness, that's rough, man.
That's like the first time I've ever heard that from you.
I know. I think
you're
so.
Always like so even keel about like this game. So it's surprising to hear me say like been tilted at my teammates and in the red.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty easy to get tilted in any team game, especially something like Heroes, where it feels like the skill gap can be pretty wide at any of the leagues. I feel like.
Definitely.
But yeah,
I feel like. Oh, I'm sorry, Jimmy, real quick. I feel like Blizzard needs to fix their little MMR thing.
Yeah.
For when you're playing a new hero, because I'm used to a certain level of play, and when I tried Samurai out today, it dropped considerably. Like, decision making, I have never seen in my life. Like, it was really, really bad.
That's one of those things where they're kind of encouraging you to take them into like practice and AI games for a while before you take them into quick match, right?
Yeah, but if that's the case, then it should take into consideration your time spent on the PTR with the hero.
Fair point.
Don't think there's an easy way to do that
No.
logistically.
No,
Yeah.
there's not.
It's a good idea, but
Mhm.
like technically speaking, that's hard to do.
Yeah, it'd probably be impossible to do, but hopes and dreams.
Jimmy, what about you?
Yeah,
man?
I'm like Charlie. I'm kind of feeling the same way about Hero League. I still haven't finished my placement matches, but I know I'm probably going to be around Silver 3, Silver 4 again. I have 2 more to do, and the other night I played in 1 and 3, and it was pretty frustrating, to be quite honest. But I don't know, it kind of turned into a little bit of a teaching situation. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw that last night I was able to actually get coached by Crowan of Gale Force Esports. So we sat down for an hour and went over 2 replays and kind of just talked about things I could improve on, positioning myself better on the map. And there were just 2 Thrall games, so I was like, this is a hero I'm pretty proficient on, so I just want to know like how I can just be better kind of in the game in general. So it's just a learning experience, and I think that's something I need to do more often is just review replays of some of my games, just so I kind of can see where I'm making mistakes and where I'm putting myself out of position when I know that I should know that it's not safe to do so. So it's just, this whole thing's a learning experience, this game.
Did he teach you how to spell ancestral? Because I think that would.
Wow.
Oh,
and
man.
left field.
Oh, for those of you who are not aware of that, go ahead and watch the one of the Heroes Brawls videos from when I went to Blizzard there. Oh my goodness. But
The Sky Temple one.
yeah, Sky Temple one. But yeah, let's get into the news this week. It's pretty much all about the patch. We saw this all on PTR last week, but we do have the Brawl available, and it is going to be Punisher Arena for the first week. I know some of us are a little annoyed because that's all we played on PTR, but we get another week of Punisher Arena. Should be a lot of fun. Also, the Halloween event I don't think it's here yet, or is it coming next week? Yes, October 25th. It's okay.
I thought it was the 15th.
Nope.
No.
Am I wrong?
25th until November 8th. So you get 2 weeks boosted EXP.
Yeah, you get 50% more XP, and the quest is play 15 games during Hollow's End in any mode except custom, training, or Heroes Brawl, and you get a Deputy Vala portrait. So some cool stuff there. We talked a lot about Brawl last week, but we'll get to that in just a minute. I want to talk more about Samuro now that he is live on the servers. Obviously, Zexus, you're kind of the expert here on this because you got some time with him. How is he feeling right now? I know it's very, very early on, but what are your early impressions on live with him?
I don't think he's a very good assassin. I think he's an amazing split pusher, though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't doubt the damage Samuro does. He does a lot of damage, and he's real. The illusions are really, really annoying to shake off, and they do a surprising amount of damage. But I think his strength is creep cutting and just solo pushing a lane post 10. He does an absolutely incredible job of just shredding creeps. There's a couple of talents you can take, I think Flame Blade or whatever. I think it's a 7 where you do a little AoE on critical strikes. And I believe your illusions do that too. And it just does so much damage. Like there was a game on Warhead Junction where we were just getting trashed today. And I'll admit I tilted and I just started split pushing. Like whatever side of the map they were on, I was on the other side. I didn't go for nukes. I didn't go for anything. We almost got keeps. We had no forts
okay.
down.
To interrupt you really quickly, I'm going to be honest. In games like that where you you're not getting anything done in team fights, I think pushing is the right thing to do. I really do.
Yeah, we had a Vikings that was just dying constantly, and was still getting soak and everything. But I ended up at the end of the game having more XP soak than our Vikings, just because of all the work I got done pushing those those forts and keeps down. I got the front wall down to the keep, the towers, the cannons down, front wall down. I had a good amount of damage on it. On the keep, I got the top and bottom lanes just completely shoved out to the point where they were having to back to deal with me because I just wouldn't stop. So the damage he does bring really good damage into team fights, but I think that's kind of wasted on his kit.
Well, I will say fighting against him felt really different. It's going to take some time to adjust, mainly because when I see like clones, I'm used to them not doing anything. In the case of Nova, where Nova's clones don't do any damage, these do damage, and it can be kind of hard to pin down exactly which one is the real one in occasions, especially when things are hectic. And if you let that Blade Storm like go off in the middle of your team, it seems to really like. I don't know. It really seems to cut up the team pretty badly. I saw Lily just absolutely get devastated by Blade Storm earlier, and that's something like you usually don't have access to that. So he's interesting. He's got an interesting dive mechanic almost with how hectic the nature of team fights can be, and how hard it can be to pin down which one is the real Samaro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think because it's so early on, there's going to be some initial impressions like Sex had here. And we're going to be talking about Samuro, I think, more as the weeks go on and figure out exactly where he fits in the meta. But I want to move on to the rest of this patch a little bit. We talked a whole ton about Brawl last week, so I feel like we don't want to reiterate too much on that. Brawl is really fun. Go play it. We'll be playing it after the show tonight for viewer games. But go check that out if you're not familiar with what's there. The nice thing is play 3 games, you get a portrait, and you get 1,000 gold. So it's a good way to build up some gold for new heroes that you need. And speaking of new heroes, there's been some price reductions for heroes. Greymane went from I think it was a 10,000 gold hero to 7,000, and Rexar went down to 4,000 gold. So I mean, Misha's 4,000 gold now. I mean, who cares about Rexar? But yeah. It's kind of nice to see them change that. Yes.
Did any feedback become available about the fountains that we were ranting about last week, Willie?
Hold on. Willie, talk about it. I'm going to find the official answer from Blizzard.
The official Blizzard answer is we're not changing it.
Aww.
We need more data. We're not changing it just yet.
Okay.
So every brawl game I just went and pushed the fountain down.
Now
we ended up winning
that valuable feedback.
Yeah, okay. So the Alebeard had an article. They did a Q&A on Brawl last week, and they did say that they're not going to be making this change before Brawl goes live. The formula for Siege Heroes was too high, and they'll be adjusting it going forward. I imagine this means we'll get more shields or more health on them, but they did say internal testing had shown that players learn how to maximize their objective advantage, and that will cost the team that decides to go after the fountain more than it gains them removing the fountain. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Blizzard knows best, I guess. We'll see, though. I do like the idea of making the fountains invulnerable, and we'll talk about this more in the Reddit feature, but Blizzard is very good about reacting to feedback, I think, in an appropriate manner and in enough time. Because, I mean, we saw with Zarya, those changes happened very, very quickly.
She didn't stay out of control for too long.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm excited for in this Hallow's End bundle that comes out next week is that iPad mount.
Creeper mount?
Look really good. Yeah, it's gonna look really good.
It's gonna be very popular in Japan, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, the what mount?
The iPad mount. I don't know if you saw that in the preview.
It's like a floating glider type mount, like the Cloud9 one, except it's like an eye with like teeth around it. So it looks like it would
Old God themed.
Yeah.
But how would Zagara use it?
She can use
The
She can use mounts, yeah.
floating mounts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
stuff
never-
like the
I never
Hearthstone,
get any of them,
stuff like the
so-
Hearthstone card, the
Magic
Nexus,
carpet.
yeah, Magic Carpet.
It's
Yeah.
just odd.
It's gonna look like an.
Yeah, and
I saw that they were removing the crimson hair too. If anybody's looking to get that.
Ooh,
Oh,
did that
yeah.
already get removed? Yeah, it already got removed. So you're a little.
Oh,
Sorry,
too late.
folks. That and the Marshall's
That was
Outrider.
live, so
Yeah,
sorry,
that and the
guys.
Marshall's Outrider are gone from the shop. I'm sure they'll be back. They always rotate these items back in. And I would guess, looking into the future, in December, there's probably going to be another like giant sale on everything in the game. So hang on for that probably happening. What I find most interesting is this was not on the PTR. It was added before this match went live though. Is under the user interface changes, they added in-game UI changes where if you hover over the versus icon on the top center of the screen, you get to display the amount of XP earned by each team from which sources. So by takedowns, mercenary structures, etc. I feel like this is just another tool for better data on figuring out what you guys are doing right and wrong necessarily. And I'm really excited for this. This is actually really cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna help casters quite a bit to have an exact number to point to when it pertains to experience differential and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of the user interface, the XP bonuses, those are neat. I like those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really interesting. They've changed it to be more stacking now. So players playing heroes with a friend now awards a base 25% bonus XP for each additional player in your party, though, that increases. So 33% at 3, 42% at 4, and 50% at 5. Ranked games will also award XP bonuses. So Hero League 25%, and I believe that stacks with the party bonus.
It's
Team League
Nice.
and Team League as well as a 50% increase in XP. So there. Oh yeah. So here's
Because you'll have 5 party members, that's actually
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so here's the basic math of this. Playing Team League in a full party with at least one friend and an active stim pack will now award a total of 225 bonus XP. So be able to level up those heroes a little bit faster.
Good God,
Yeah.
that's a ridiculous amount of XP.
Yeah,
bonus
and,
right there. That's
Let me change into
Jeez.
game really quick here because they did actually add a little overlay here where it says available XP bonuses, and you can see what's available and what you have active. Obviously, I'm not in a party, so none of them are active, but you can see 25% and all that stuff we just laid out. But also, this was something I saw at the build I played at Blizzard, and they were like, oh, we're not sure if you're supposed to talk about that yet, but now it's out, so I can finally talk about it. The first win of the day bonus, which is nice. I mean, it's encouraging people to play every day. You earn 50% XP and 50% gold on your first win of the day. It does not apply to training, custom games, or Brawl. So, a little something extra.
Yeah, you basically get a stim pack for your first game every day, which is it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
They're making it a lot easier to farm up gold because I've fallen behind in the amount of heroes that I actually own. I used to pride myself on owning all of them, and it was fairly easy to have 10,000 gold ready when the next hero was released. Now they come out so quick, it became hard to keep up without actually spending money. So all these extra ways to earn gold are definitely welcomed by somebody who doesn't want to spend any money on a game.
yeah, and I'm a sucker, so I keep buying heroes when they drop on the PTR for some unfathomable reason.
Samuro was right up your alley, though.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, I've been waiting. I had actually been waiting on Samuro for a while, so for him to finally drop was nice. And he's, like I said, he's not bad. He's just not what I expected.
Mhm.
Right.
You don't see him being like top scare for picks and bans.
No, I do
Not
see
in this
him
meta,
getting
no.
picked. I do see him getting picked in certain comps, but he's definitely not ban worthy in my opinion. So
Okay. There's a lot of stuff in this patch, but it's all mostly bug fixes. Is there anything that was standing out to you guys? Otherwise, I think we might move on a little bit here. Just because
Yeah,
there's a lot of small. Here, I'll say it again. Quality of life changes.
Good shot. The only thing I'll point out is that for the commendations on the MVP votes at the end, Bulwark will now take into the number of deaths into account rather than just going, "Oh, you took a ton of damage. You're awesome."
See, that's why I need a soundboard. I would have an audience like clapping and cheering there.
Yeah, that's nice. The feedback.
That was one of our What's on our Reddit segments like a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yep, definitely. And that's why it's important to. I still feel it's very important. If you have an idea or want to voice a concern, do it in a constructive way on Reddit. And it seems, I mean, they've even come out and said they read Reddit actively. They've responded to things constantly. They respond to posts constantly on Reddit. So if you have a thought and you'd like to see something different on the game, the Heroes of the Storm Reddit is the place to be.
Yeah, it really is. I know they do a lot of reading on there. Zextrus.
Yes, speaking of thoughts, you can now stay on the MVP screen for as long as you want. So you can encourage your teammates to do their very best their next game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to be used for.
Oh
You're
yeah.
so good at that, aren't you?
Oh,
I just want my teammates to know that though they made mistakes this game, every game is different in Heroes of the Storm, and they can do better. I believe in them.
Yeah, for sure. But actually, this reminds me, there's a couple bug fixes that are actually pretty big. Rexar, delay will no longer occur between repeated Misha focus casts. So that'll improve the mobility of Misha, obviously, being able to really micro that down and not wait for any sort of cooldown or delay on that activating. And one of the more frustrating things, I don't like this change, but they're doing it anyways. For Illidan, the voiceover that plays while casting the hunt is now only audible for Illidan and his target. I loved hearing it when it was cast on other people, but I guess it's more like you need to pay more attention to your teammates.
Let's be real, Jim. It's like when you hear a car screech outside and you wait for the crash. That's what you were waiting to hear, is the hunt and the crash when he fails to get the kill.
Oh my God. You're right. At least with me. That's
what you're waiting for. The screech and the
You are not prepared.
Oh my gosh.
Where's it going?
Most definitely. But so no balance changes here. We had the balance changes last week, and I think it's safe to assume at this point this is going to be the patch going into BlizzCon and the Heroes Grand Global Championship. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with that, or do you think we might see some changes before the big tournament, which is actually starts next week on the 26th?
I would say the only change we'll see is if there's some kind of something comes out in the next couple days, like Samara's doing, quadruple damage.
Samara is not available, by the way.
For some reason.
Samara will not be available.
Oh, okay. Well, then probably not. I mean, that would be the only thing I could think of, like a major hot fix suddenly, some coming to light that's really broken.
Do you think if he would have that much impact, though? Like, do you think he would be
some of the lesser teams would pick them against the Korean teams, just be like, we can't beat you traditionally. We're gonna do something weird because you haven't practiced against Samuro. Mm-hmm. But you get into the top half of the bracket and no one will pick him.
Yeah, I don't like Willie said, I don't see him as being like the new Li Ming where everybody bans him every single match. Like, that's the first thing they do.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either, and I think we're gonna see some surprises at BlizzCon in terms of picks and bans. Mm-hmm. I think people are sitting on a couple strats. More specifically, I think people are sitting on some Gul'dan strats.
What, you want another Murky win?
Murky win would be fun to watch, but
dude, I watched that. I think
Gul'dan's in a really hard spot right now, where teams are purposely not picking him or banning him, because we're just a few weeks out from BlizzCon, and you don't want to tip your entire hand.
True.
And Gul'dan, I think, is in a really, really strong spot right now.
Yeah, I think he's definitely in an interesting spot. I want to move on to a little bit more of the news. We did get our casters actually announced for BlizzCon, and it's a pretty star-studded lineup that they have going from both the North American and Europe region. We do have Anna Prosser going to be hosting, I imagine, on the stage once again. She did so last year, and she's been really busy doing a lot of stage hosting, most recently at TwitchCon and various other Twitch events, but it's really awesome to see her back on the hero stage.
She's honestly one of the best in the business at impromptu post-game interviews.
She really is.
Introducing me. She gets good, honest feedback out of people who are just coming out of a very tense situation. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy thing to do, and she makes it look seamless.
Yeah, and they didn't say exactly who is doing what, but knowing these people, I can kind of assume how it's going to go. We have Dreadnought, Gillyweed, Grubby, J-How, Caldor, Solid Jake, and Wolf casting. So Wolf is obviously there to be supporting the Korean scene, as he's been over in Korea for a number of years now, casting StarCraft, and now casting Heroes, obviously. And also Kalaris will be there. I imagine he'll be in that desk analyst role, kind of leading the conversation as he has been for past couple seasons now, and really brings a good fun atmosphere to the analysis desk. I think it's a really good lineup of casters. Got just enough of Europe in there to really help with that scene as well. Grubby is probably my favorite caster in the world right now for Heroes, just because he is so knowledgeable about the game and he's a fun caster.
I honestly believe Heroes has quietly put together the best casting and announcing team across all Blizzard games, honestly. Mm-hmm. They've got a very, very solid crew that's stacked with a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I have to give a shout out to J-How, my buddy J-How. He started the year out at Heroes Rising, and he's made his way all the way to BlizzCon. The guy's put in a ton of work and totally deserves this, so I'm so happy for him, and I'm excited to be able to see him on the stage there at BlizzCon. But what do you guys think about this lineup? I know on the kind of the comments a little bit online, there was a little bit of a disappointment that Dunk Train was not put on this roster here, and I actually am a little disappointed by that, because I think he brings a lot to the analysis desk because he's a former pro player and plays at such a high level of Heroes. Do you think that was a little bit of an oversight, or just that this is already way too kind of crowded as it is, that having another person would just been a little too much?
Well, was it a matter of the staff already there, or was it a matter of needed to be somewhere else at that time? Is there something else going on that he's already adhered to, or was it just kind of an up in the air thing?
That's a good question, and only Dunk Train knows the answer to that. So, but
kind of like that issue we talked about a few weeks ago with what was it, Zuna, where he had to be here but tried to do that. It's kind of one of those situations.
He was in TwitchCon to a tournament.
I mean, part of it's just they only have so many slots, right? Jake wasn't invited to one of the global championships, and he practically built the NA Heroes esports scene with his bare hands. Mm-hmm. So It's just they only have so many slots, and they want to give spots to J-How, who's kind of risen up in the last couple of months, and they want to give spots to they do still want to honor Jake and Gilly and and Dreadnought's there too, right?
Yeah,
and those two are they're on the Beyond the Nexus, and they're really involved with Blizzard now.
Well, so plus they had the publicity from the Bloodlust tournament, didn't they?
Yeah,
correct.
So it's just. And there's 4 NA casters there of the 8, right? We're already overrepresented.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty NA heavy.
I think Dunk Train has ascended to something more than NA, though. Any scene just instantly recognizes Dunk, and the beard and everything like that. I don't know. I think they could have. I wanted them to make room for him. He was he was the sleeper caster of this year. You didn't think he was going to be bad, but you didn't think he was going to be that good, and he turns out no, this guy's actually really good at this.
Yeah.
So I was kind of hoping they were going to give him a shot, but You were saying, Charlie?
I was just saying we should all wear fake beards next week and support it.
There we go.
Dude,
I was-
The train whistles, those wooden
yeah.
things.
We'll all get treadmills. But yeah,
Have a treadmill and play Heroes. I can barely play it stationary.
I was also a little surprised that KO was left off because he's just put in a ton of work the past few months in both the North America and Europe scene. I know he casted the European Nexus games as well, so he's really familiar with both metas. But like we're saying, it might just been a matter of just not enough slots for all these casters. Because I could rattle off 8 or 10 other casters who probably would deserve spots like this, but all of these casters have been doing content for at least the past 12 months in Heroes and really deserve these spots. I mean, Caldor just is a casting machine. That dude is casting, I swear, 24/7.
Yeah, I don't know how he has time for anything, especially like anything not Heroes related. I feel like he's always doing things for Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah. But speaking of Heroes Esports, want to talk a little bit about North American Nexus games. They did end in, spoiler, Astral Authority beat Denial 4-1. Looking really strong right now. I mean, is there anything kind of to stop them from really just being the number one NA team at this point? I mean, they've just dominated every tournament that they've played the past few months, and I don't see anyone challenging them for that number one spot.
The only one that's been quiet lately is Murloc, like because they qualified and we haven't really seen a lot from Murloc Geniuses lately.
They are.
That's
They got
Astral-
accepted by Astral roster.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
what happened. Okay,
Yeah.
my mistake.
So,
No worries.
yeah, the same team that just dominated the two regionals, and then, they're looking really good.
I
That was
wondering. I'm like, are they like hidden in a lab somewhere, but like back and not playing anymore? Like
Calm
until
down, Junkenstein.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
so there was a winners final between Astral, formerly Murlocs, and Denial, where they beat them, I think, handily. I don't remember the exact score, and they went in with at a weighted best of 7.
Mhm.
So they came in with a 1-game lead,
Yeah.
and then beat them 4-1.
Wow.
But they earned that 1-game lead, and they beat them again handily. And just no one in NA can touch them right now at all. It's really just a question of how does NA stack up against the other regions, because it could either be Astral is so phenomenally just on a global scale good, NA can't keep up with it, or just NA is trash everybody else, and the only like decent team in the region wins everything by default.
Mm-hmm.
So in a week we'll find out.
Yeah,
hoping
and just a
which one.
disclaimer, we'll be talking a lot more about HGC next week, right before they happen on the 26th next week. So on the show next week on the 25th, we'll be really breaking that down. But I did want to talk about Master League here, and this is a really great website that tracks all the drafts for these major tournaments, and we saw the top 4 heroes that had picks and bans were all 90% or higher. So that means 90% of the time they were either picked or banned in games. Malfurion at number 1, 100%, ETC at 95%, Vala at 95%, and Zarya at 90%. What do you guys...
Zarya was mostly bans.
Yeah, mostly bans.
Poor Zarya.
Yeah, Zarya was 65% ban rate, the highest of any hero during the weekend. What do you think this says about the meta? And obviously, this was in the middle of that kind of weird transition from Zarya being totally overpowered to brought back to earth.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see all the Zarya bans moving forward, but Malfurion and ETC are kind of here to stay as the go-to safe picks, or the people you want to ban out because you don't think you can get them. And Vala has settled comfortably into her role as probably the most versatile assassin in the game, it seems.
So I also wanted to point out, just below that was Murden and Chen, and that means that's 4 different warriors in the top 6.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how the meta is just going to shift at this point to being so warrior dependent?
If you look, there's Johanna at like 9 or something, and then you have to go a long ways before you hit another warrior.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got like
Tyrael,
5 or 6 warriors. We've got ETC, Zarya, Murden, Chen, Johanna. So that's 6, right? That's decent, but like none of the others are being picked at all.
Absolutely zero Diablo and Sonya is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
I feel like not top tier, obviously, but they're usually picked. They usually see somebody represent them at these tournaments. So it has been a wild shift with the dominance of Chen, or at least the I won't say dominance, but the at least the emergence of Chen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that's what one of the things that surprises me about this being the last patch before BlizzCon is, like, all these warriors are in really, really strong spots. You know, especially, you know, Chen and ETC, Muradin, even, like, they're really strong right now, and I'm curious as to what kind of pocket strats we're gonna see come out. I mean, could we see something crazy come out of China, like Triple Warrior?
Well, I mean, that's very possible. And if you just want to go off the team that just dominated, they took double tank in every single match. Johanna, 3 of them. Chen, 2 of them. I'm sorry, not every single match, but I misspoke. 3 of the 4 matches they took. Nope, 2. Sorry. But what's funny about them is how quickly they adjust to the meta and the thing. They are kind of the ones who bring in new stuff. They were the first people to use Alaric last week in a competitive way that got wins.
Yeah, using that actually with Chen.
Yeah.
God, that just sounds filthy.
We got a good question in chat. Is there a link to the information they are looking at?
Yeah, hold on. I will get that to you.
Or that link to Master League out.
Both put it up at the same time.
But mine was first, technically.
That's true.
Please get good.
So, yeah.
Maybe it was.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, there's a whole lot to analyze there. We'll have to... I think the question mark for me is there was not a whole lot of Lunara play during this event, and Europe loves their Lunara. So I'm curious to see if that becomes a problem for the NA teams playing against European teams going forward.
Yeah, I think Europe is right about Lunara, but it won't take... I mean, as much as I love Lunara, she's not the most complex champion. So, you know, if NA plays a few games and Lunara is doing well, I don't think there's any assassin player in NA. He's going to be like, oh man, Lunara's in the meta, what do we even do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the early stages, it shouldn't matter too much, and they can adapt quick enough before it matters.
Yeah, I think Astral definitely can adapt quickly enough. But any final thoughts on North American Nexus games? It was a fun little diversion before BlizzCon. I got to see all the North American European teams play. It was a lot of fun. Got a little bit of cash for teams.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add right now to that. The way Murloc, I'm sorry, Astral. God,
it's gonna be so hard. I'm waiting. Okay, what?
Murloc Authority.
Okay, what's the?
Yeah, I like that actually. Murloc Authority.
Let's get a ring to it. What's the bet gonna be for the first caster who calls them Murloc Geniuses instead of Astral Authority?
It's like the people who keep writing last year's date on their checks for the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah,
it's gonna be Dreadnought. Dreadnought's gonna do it first.
Yeah, he would. Oh,
wow,
my goodness.
No faith in Dread.
You're the one who said it.
Well, I'm not rubbing elbows with other casters and stuff, man. Jimmy's gotta stick up for his brethren.
Dread's too cool for me.
Stupid. It'd totally be Kaldor, or throw some kind of shade at somebody,
That's not
don't
me.
just be like.
Hey,
just don't turn off the sun over Dread.
Okay?
Oh my goodness. Back to the show though. We do have a new segment we're going to be trying out, and we have Flamin' Balrog fan here. We're going to try to figure out a name for the segment. We haven't exactly figured it out yet, but I wanted to hand this over to Balrog here, and why don't you talk a little bit about this and go ahead and go into our questions here.
Okay, so for right now, we're just presenting this segment with mock questions that me and Carl have discussed. The goal is that hopefully people tweet us more questions that we can actually offer the listeners feedback if they have any questions that they would like us to answer. But this is just kind of a general strategy question. So we'll jump right into this first question. Dear Carl, I have a hard time maximizing output for characters who are focused on auto attacks. What advice can you give me to help me become a better auto attacker in the Nexus? That
All
comes
right.
from Made Up Person 4572.
Well, made up person 4572. I've got an answer for you. So in the nature of an auto attack or a sustained damage hero, even because in heroes, people like Vala who do just the most damage with their W's, their auto attacks, they're still a sustained damage dealer. They're not a burst. But anyways, in these sustained damage dealers, you put out damage by a function of your existence. You know, if a fight goes on long, your number's going to look good. You're going to impact the fight. You're not a Li Ming where you have to have this one impactful moment where the fight turns on your abilities. It's, it's your, you're just going to do sustained DPS. So therefore, your most important task is stay alive, right? That's how you be an effective DPS, is don't die. So I think the biggest thing to do is to keep track of enemy cooldowns, right? If you're a Vala, you've got like 2 health. Right.
Right.
And the enemy
Somebody
team
breathes on you with an ultimate, you're gone.
Exactly. It used to be if a Jaina found Vala, Vala just died. So, you have to watch out for important cooldowns. And there's a lot of enemy cooldowns, so you can pick one. Say there's a Sunder on the enemy team. I'm not gonna commit to a fight until the Sunder is down. Right. And until then, you can dance around it. You can put a little bit of damage on their ETC or whatever. But you're careful to not be in a position where Sunder will ruin your day until Sunder's gone. And then you can go forward, right? People always say don't focus the tanks. But if focusing their backline is going to put you in a position where you will die before they do, then don't do it. Right? You have to wait for these opportunities and then step forward. And that's really how you be an effective DPS.
Okay, and that's interesting because I never really thought to kind of like track cooldowns. Tracking cooldowns is something I'm thinking about more when I'm the tank and I'm up front and everything. So as an auto attacker, I never really think to do that, and I didn't know how important that was. Another thing I always hear people talk about is how important it is to move, and that seems to be an area I struggle. Is there anything I can do to like help with that?
Yeah. So
just attacking, it feels like you're paying attention too much to your movement and positioning distracts from the amount of damage I can do. So how do you balance that?
So first I'll talk about like why you do it, right? So the general idea is if you're already in motion, it's easier to dodge skill shots, right? If you're standing still and something comes at you, by the time you realize it, it's halfway to you and you're done, right? Same thing if you're fighting a boss and the little like purple circle shows above your feet. By the time you see the purple circle, it's too late. You're going to get rooted. Okay. So if you're moving around in between these, you're making little positioning adjustments, and it's making them harder to hit you and all this stuff. So that's why you want to do this sort of thing. As far as practicing goes, it does take effort, right? And if you want to be a true diehard fan, you're going to go into try mode, and you're going to auto attack that Arthas and move between every auto attack for like 3 hours. But if you're not into that, because most people aren't,
right?
I recommend doing it on something like a boss. Where it's like, okay, every couple seconds, there's going to be this one ability I have to dodge, right? And you know what's kind of happening. So your just goal is to stay in motion, to auto attack step, and not get hit by the root. And you
Eternal
just do
Battlefield might also work for that because there's a lot of those.
Yeah. Any of these PvE mechanics, right? So you're not, it's not in the middle of a fight, right? That's not where you first want to try something out. When there's 18 abilities flying around, and your team's trying to move in one way, and you're like, oh, how do I stutter step? So in those smaller environments, or even if it's just like in lane kind of doing stuff, and just go into a game with an idea of like, today I want to focus on my stutter stepping, and I might lose a bunch of games. It's whatever. I'm trying to be a better player. And you do stuff like that, and you will be. And in the end, your rank will rise, even if you lost a rank today.
Okay, well, I think you satisfied Made Up Player 4572's question, so
Excellent.
We'll move on to the second one and final one for this segment. Dear Carl, is it better to main 1 or 2 heroes, or maybe main 1 role? Or should I just be willing to pick whatever my team needs?
Okay, so this kind of breaks down into how you want to play the game, right? If you're somebody who wants to play for fun, most likely maining a role is for you. Right, you're like, I like doing a bunch of damage. So you're just going to cycle through all the assassins. You're going to have a good time. You're going to play Thrall. You're going to play Nazebo. You're going to play Li Ming. And it's going to be great. If you don't want people to be mad at you, then you pick whatever fits the team comp. But if you want to advance, the optimal strategy is to pick a few heroes and get really good at them. Because, we talked about when I said in the middle of a fight's not a good time to practice stutter stepping. Middle of a fight's not a good time to learn how to use your Kerrigan combo either.
Yes.
Right? If you don't know if you're not familiar with their mechanics, you go into a game with level 6 Kerrigan and you try and do things. In every fight, all you're focusing on is your combo, yourself, your own cooldowns. And you can't look at what are they doing, how are they going to counter me, what can kill me, what's my team doing, map objectives, all these other more kind of big, more abstract concepts about game sense and awareness that really elevates your play can't happen if you're not familiar with your hero. So if you jump around and you play 12 different heroes every day, you're not familiar with your heroes, and you'll always be focusing on when does my Q cooldown come back up instead of when does their Jaina's Q cooldown come back up.
Right.
Her E or W would be more important than her Q. It's like 3 seconds.
Right. Watch those blizzards. So, and one approach that I took personally, I focused on one of each role. I have a dedicated assassin, a dedicated tank, a dedicated support, and a dedicated specialist. And all of those help me be ready to kind of like learn other characters as they come up. I think the easiest transition is definitely support. If you can play a couple supports, you can probably play any support, but it's a lot. Assassin, it's a lot less forgiving. You probably want to focus on max, maybe 2.
And do you think there's a distinction between ranged and melee assassin?
Yeah.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're more comfortable with, too.
So if you're trying to like fill a role if you're trying to pick one hero, like I don't think everybody has to go into every draft knowing a ranged and a melee.
Right.
But if you're like trying to get good at one specific role, playing Thrall is very different from playing Li Ming. So, you have more flexibility. Like I'm going to play Li Ming and Jaina as my focus heroes is a lot easier than saying I'm going to play Li Ming and Illidan.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay, thank you, Carl, for all your wonderful answers to these fake people who are in no way real. But if
Thanks,
anybody,
fake people, for your questions.
Right, if any real people would like to submit some questions to Carl, you can tweet them to the at Blizzard Power Hour or
at Heroes Power Hour on Twitter.
Power Hour. There we go. Yep.
Yeah. So now we'll move on to one of my favorite segments is the What's Hot on Reddit segment, where we're talking about a thread that's gotten a lot of traction or a lot of discussion or just some comments from Blizzard maybe. But this week we have a really great thread about how every single patch has been basically a huge step in the right direction for the game. And I tend to agree with this. Every patch has done something to the game to improve the get ready for shot quality of life of the game. As we've seen, even to today's patch, there's a lot of really nice changes to the UI, lots of bug fixes as well. And one of the first comments from Doomsaki here talks about the high pace of reworks to heroes has been really nice. And I have a little bit of insider baseball info there because I was at Blizzard a few weeks ago and I talked to Claudio, who I got to interview, and he was talking about how earlier in the year they basically got the green light from their development team, kind of their core engineering team. They're like, you can push patches basically anytime you want, like hot fixes. And so that's when they really took advantage of that. Now, if for those who've been following us throughout 2016, there was early on in the year, there was like 6 or 7 weeks in a row where we had we'd call them bonus shows because of the patch changes on Wednesdays, and we'd talk about those. So we've seen them slow down a little bit, but we did see a lot of that very early on with those changes. What do you guys think about this thread? This is a really a feel-good thread for those of us who are fans of heroes.
I don't think every patch was a step in the right direction, unless we forget the 2 months of solo Tehran healer / assassin.
Well, that was the patch, or that was the period that spurned this multi-patch thing. That was like the last real bad time, like the rule of Tehran for like 2 months after BlizzCon.
Would you argue though that the Ray God days were a little rough?
Oh
no,
yeah,
the Ray God days were fun. Like, I didn't mind Rhaegar so much. Like, because he could do a little bit of damage, but he couldn't really shred you the way Tehran could, chasing you down and doing squats, throwing birds and arrows at your head. I mean, that was ridiculous. Like 50k damage to hero damage Tehrans. No, stop it. Why do you hurt so much?
Yeah, that was a period where a lot of us took a break, if I remember correctly. We weren't playing nearly as much as we were before the rule Tehran, but
that sounds about right. Yeah,
it definitely. I mean, it was a very vocal problem amongst the community. She was full ban rate, like at all tournaments afterwards there for a while too, and that's when they started really pumping out all these changes. And like Jimmy had brought up, we started having to do shows on Wednesday for like a half hour because they were hot fixing stuff every Wednesday for like 5 weeks straight.
Yeah, and they weren't little tiny patches. They were really, meta shifting patches at times. Like yeah. I remember the big Nova changes.
Yeah.
For like Snipe Nest, that was a Wednesday patch. And I remember we did a Wednesday show that was pretty much just straight up Nova changes. How would this affect our favorite, assassin with laser beam hair?
Yep. Number one player kill the hero.
Right. Okay, Chew, calm down there.
We still don't see her though very much.
No, because there's a reason for it. She's a play. What is it? Say it again, Carl.
Number one player killer hero.
Yeah, and there's objectives and stuff, and she's not very good at objectives.
No, she's not. Or lanes.
It's true too. That's true too. She's really bad at lanes.
Mm-hmm. So wow, that was quick.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of like little changes that happened that kind of kept happening and accumulated a much more balanced game that we're playing these days. I feel the hero picks, while if you're playing with tryhards in Hero League, they may tell you there's only like 11 picks on the board that are viable and you need to follow this structure. But in reality, a lot of heroes are in a really good place, hovering in that spot of 48 to 52, more than half the cast, if you trust hot slogs. So that's a hard bar to hit, and the fact that they've managed to do that in less than a year is pretty phenomenal. Yeah,
it really is. Before we start closing out the show, though, and kind of transitioning to our play session with everyone watching, we're going to give away another Zarya bundle. If you're here on Twitch, you saw I kind of snuck one in there in chat. But if you want to go ahead and enter for another one, let me go ahead and reset the raffle and open it, and go ahead and hit !raffle, and we will get another one sent off to one of our viewers. So. Yeah, go ahead and hit !raffle in chat, and we'll get you added to that giveaway there. But yeah,
and this is all due to DJ Tyrant's connections and wonderful charity. He could keep these all for himself and hoard them.
Oh yeah,
he chooses to give them to our listeners, like the gracious idiots.
If Sin Winder doesn't, if he wins, don't give it to him because he's not subbed, and he should be subbed by now. Same with Kuma.
We don't bully for subs, Willie.
Yeah, we do not bully for subs.
He just bullies Sin. Like, there's no purpose behind it.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, I get that.
Jimmy, if you were to pick next week's Brawl, which one would you pick?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I kind of want to see the Garden Terror one, just because we didn't get to play that at the event I went to. The all hammer one is kind of fun, but not totally. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see it come out.
Trigger Willie pretty hard.
Which one?
The all hammer one on Towers of Doom.
Why? I actually like Hammer.
You do?
Yeah. Hammer was one of my first master skins.
Oh my goodness.
It was Nova, and I'm pretty sure Hammer afterwards. And then I found my love of Chen.
That's right. I forgot that. I forgot old school Willie was all about the StarCraft heroes.
That's right.
Then he read my game guide, and I forever ruined
And then my
Storm
team,
experiences.
and then my old team, the Wonder Billies, threw me on Chen against Cloud9 Vortex. Thanks, guys. And, and a love affair was born, which was only further enhanced when I met Charlie.
Aww.
So that out of the way.
Yeah. Speaking of subs, though, if you haven't been paying attention or didn't hear the news, Twitch Prime is a thing now. So if you have Amazon Prime, you automatically get Twitch Prime, and you get a free subscription to a channel every single month. So if you would like to, we'd love your support here. It goes to directly support BlizzPro as a whole and all the programming on here, and that would be super awesome if you guys would go ahead and choose us as your free sub for the month. We do also have a Patreon. We're still working on finalizing some of the new stuff there, but patreon.com/heroespower This helps support the show and the assorted costs with running a weekly show with 5 different hosts. Hardware and software issues do come up, and this will go towards that, as well as giving back to you, our listeners, using these contributions to fund prizes as a way of saying thanks to our wonderful listeners and patrons. And for those of you who are going to BlizzCon, make sure to carve out a little bit of time on Friday at 6 o'clock, as we will be meeting outside Hall B and C. Come hang out with us, meet a bunch of the people who work on BlizzPro. Myself and Artifice, I believe, will be there, alongside many of the other hosts of the other great shows on BlizzPro. But yeah, someone else talk for a second, because I'm out of breath.
All right, well, I just want to remind everyone that if you want to read anything about Heroes of the Storm, I recommend heroesofthestorm.blizzpro.com. That's where we have wonderful articles pumped out by one Zexorus, who you can see directly to my right on the screen. We also have Alebeard, who I don't know that he is actually I met him, and I think he's still just a machine built to constantly pump out strategy articles about Heroes of the Storm, because he's got a new one every week, and each one is insightful. It always teaches you something, and they're well worth the read every week. You also want to check out our YouTube. We got a lot of video content up there. You can rewatch any of these shows if you want to see the video feed, and that's youtube.com/BlizzPro. If you'd like to join our Discord channel, you can do that. We drop the link in chat pretty much after the show, whenever games are getting ready. All the shows I use the Discord channel, and that's discord.blizzpro.com. And if you want to join in and chat with any of the BlizzPro staff, you can do that there. And for us, just if you're in Heroes of the Storm, join the BlizzPro chat channel, and that's just /join BlizzPro.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have enough for a full group for Brawl this week. It would be a lot of fun to play with all of you and really check out this brand new mode that just dropped today on live servers. I think that is going to be it for this week. Once again, this is episode 78 of The Heroes Power. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. And in the Nexus, make sure to stay tight.